must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Africa, good morning wherever you are in the world. Thank you for watching Punchline Africa television broadcasting all the way from Mombasa in Kenya near the Indian Ocean. You can see behind me is the Indian Ocean, which has actually been on the headlines of international news agencies. Thank you very much. I passed by Lamu to see Mr. Onyali's house, which is building in Lamu, but I wasn't able to see it because it was at night. I was flying over the helicopter. But thank you very much. Now I'm back on the ground in Mombasa, the capital city of the coast near the Indian Ocean. In fact, the Indian Ocean is 50 meters away from me. It has gone somewhere. I don't know where it goes in the morning. It's about to come back. But the beach is here. Maybe it has gone to make more oil for Somalia. We don't know. But let me now come back to the topic. After the ruling, what next? This is Diplomatic Leaks from Punchline Africa TV, the only television station south of Sahara that talks about Africa. What ails Africa? What kills Africa? Oh my God. Is our Africa the same? Where is Nkrumah's body? In the grave, he must be turning left and right. Nkrumah must be saying what happened to Africa. Nyerere might say what happened to Africa. My God, Jomo Kenyatta must be saying, oh my God, Moi, all these Obote, all these leaders must say, oh my God, what really happened to Africa? Is it the Africa we wanted? If we go on changing the borders at the moment, Miriam and the panel, we might end up without border, without Africa. Africa might be in the either Mediterranean Sea or in Europe. If the going of the reasoning of the judges at the ICJ is to be taken into account, I think it would be very, very difficult for Africa to exist. Thank you very much. Good morning. Back in the studio, Miriam Ogutu in Nairobi. Good morning.
Doc, a very good morning to you. Good morning to our panelists and good morning to our viewers from wherever they're watching us from today.
Thank you very much. Across, Professor Gerard Onyari. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Masanga, my fellow panelists, and our viewers from wherever they are watching us from.
Thank you very much from Nairobi County, the legacy trend lady, Sharon Gitonga. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Dr. Matanga, my colleague panelists, and to all our viewers watching us in Africa and across the continent. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Across in the CBD is none other than Daniel Wesonga. Good morning.
Yes, a very good morning, Dr. Matsanga David, on the shores of the Indian Ocean. Good morning to my fellow panelists, our viewers here in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the globe. It's my pleasure to join the conversation this morning.
Lastly, south of Equator, south of Equator, and I don't know whether Tawish knows that Narok is south of Equator, Kiligoris. Did you know? Most of you on the show don't know where the equator passes. Do you know where the equator? Are you in the south or in the north, Miriam? We would like to test our minds before we condemn imperialism. South of the equator. Tawif, are you south of the equator or north of the equator? Good morning.
I'm on the south. Good morning, Dr. Masanga. Good morning, colleague panelist, Miriam Ogutu at our headquarters, and all our viewers watching this program in Africa and the rest of the world. My pleasure to join you on this program. Good morning, Dr.
Thank you very much. It is always a very good thing to know whether you are in the south of the equator or in the north of the equator, because because some of the people, these are the few, questions that are asked and the people fail the interview. And then they come home and they blame their fathers. Oh, my father did not take me to school. It is your head. And that's why we have created these community colleges, community TV to understand. There are some people who are empty-headed. They don't know whether they are in the south of equator or north of equator, where the Capricorn is, where tropic of Cancer is, what date is tropic of Cancer, what date is tropic of Capricorn. Come on, let's wake up, man. That's why we need a program called Social Africa. We shall be introducing that very soon. But right now, let me go back to the studios. General headquarters, the lady herself, the lady of Punchline Africa Television, Miriam Ogutu, our senior anchor. Miriam, take us through the newspapers before we start killing each other with Professor Gerard Onyari here. Because I'm waiting for Onyari, and I am going to bring in a mercenary from Paris. Also, Onyari, bring it on.
All right.
Over to you.
Prof has come in peace, and if you're looking for mercenaries, this will be a good time for us to be friends with Russia, maybe. I don't know. But let's go through the news-making headlines this morning. The Daily Nation, the main headline, not an inch. Kenya rejects a C verdict. And Limuru 3 conference threatens to split Mount Kenya. Hit squad, rogue police top list of contract killers. And Raila allies cry foul over new voters. And then we go to the Standard newspaper, the main headline, MP's new plan to cut down powers of a deputy president. And of course, the main pictorial there, Somalia walks out of ICJ without claimed territory, and politicians turn the nicknames to woo voters. And that is what we have on the front page of the Standard newspaper. The Star newspaper, the main headline, rise of a poker king Justin Muturi, and then up there, boundary dispute, UN court rejects Kenya, a case in Somalia border row, and crisis rocks Jubilee party as nearly 70 employees sacked in radical purge. The story is on page 2, 20 million Kenya shillings court award for girl who lost hands in electrocution. The story is on page 3, and Uhuru urges leaders to embrace diversity in New York speech. The story is on page 7. So, Doctor, that is what we have on the Daily Nations this morning, on the 3 leading newspapers this morning.
Okay, thank you very much. It looks like the main dominating story on these newspapers, Miriam, because I'm going to be a participant, I want you to sharpen your questions at me. I just don't want to take part. I want to sharpen, and I want to hit Professor Onyari with missiles of intellectualism. So let's go. I now hand over the powers of having this interview of diplomatic leaks. What next after the ruling? Where did we go wrong? Those are the questions we want to answer. Where did the world go wrong? Who are the people funding this exercise of dismembering the Great Lakes region and Africa as a continent? Those are the things we are looking at. The blame game of Kenya or what, that can come. You can do it. But let's now look at the future. Is there going to be peace in this country? Is there going to be peace? Are we not at war already from yesterday? Are we moving forward? What can be done without us? We are already on the border, Miriam. We are already on the border. In fact, Onyari, you missed the chance of patrolling it yesterday. I did. I have been patrolling it. I came back. Have I not shown you that I'm near the border? I'm ready. I'm ready, and I have called for my uniform to be brought. So if you want to join me, come. If you don't, sit and analyze. But back to you, Miriam, in the studio. Fire me the question.
All right, before I fire you the question and the rest of the panelists, let me just give us a background of this, what we are talking about this morning. And the Daily Nation did an extensive reporting on this matter, page 10, 11, and 12. But I'll just read a bit of that so that we can have some background information for the sake of our viewers who might not understand what is it that we're talking about today. Now, the International Court of Justice has set the stage for confrontation between Kenya and Somalia after Nairobi vowed vowed to reject the verdict on the Indian Ocean boundary dispute with Mogadishu. The ICJ yesterday upheld Somalia's equidistance formula on the boundary demarcation in the Indian Ocean waters, effectively rejecting Kenya's long-held position of delineation along the parallel of latitude. For the foregoing reasons, the court considers that the conduct of Somalia between 1979 and 2004 in relation to its maritime boundary with Kenya, as examined above, in particular its alleged absence of protest against Kenya's claim, does not establish Somalia's clear and consistent acceptance of maritime boundary at the parallel latitude. So that is just one part of what the Daily Nation has written. And then on this other page, how Kenya bungled border case. And just below that, had the country refused to get to the ICJ case from the start, things might have been different. A full in-tray awaited the Jubilee government when President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy Ruto assumed office in April 9, 2013. At the time, Somalia's rising displeasure over maritime borders with Kenya on the Indian Ocean did not seem to be on the top of to-do list, even though the dispute area, covering approximately 160,000 square kilometers, risked ruining a cordial relationship. And on May 31st, 2013, President Kenyatta administration released a joint statement with Somalia to the effect that the two countries would work towards demarcating the Indian Ocean area to everybody's satisfaction. 1 month later, Somalia reversed its position, saying it had no interest in entering fresh talks over the border demarcation. And what the story is saying, that perhaps if Kenya had refused to go to the ICC case from the start, things might have been different now. And I think that is something, Doctor, you've said here before. So perhaps I'll start with you. Did we shoot ourselves in the foot by agreeing even to be part of this case in the initial stages?
Yes. Miriam, the answer is yes. I wish, and I just want to categorically tell Kenyans and the world, I wish I had been consulted. You know, there is a problem between there is a point between a doctor and a surgeon. If you are just a doctor, you don't pretend to be a surgeon who can operate and install an organ into the body of a human being. I am a surgeon on international relations. I'm not a doctor. In terms of medicine, I'm a surgeon. A man who has fought international agencies before and been successful. I wish the former Attorney General, Gifu Mugai, asked me about the opinion at that time in 2014, that can we go to court? I would have told him, don't waste your time to even put evidence that incriminates you. You get my point? Let's just go the route of the United Nations and say we don't know anything, and we stick by the African Union constitutive arrangement of Cairo Declaration of 1964, that no borders will be discussed outside Africa using other means except through the mechanisms of the African Union constitutive arrangement. Now, asking me, did we shoot ourselves in the foot? The answer is straight, yes, we did. We were misled. The former Attorney General misled us. The mortician went to mortician himself. He ended up coming and then making an about turn to make an application that, oh, I want to withdraw again, or I want to do this. It was rejected. Why did he go there? You see, time and time again, I've told people, in 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, no Kenyan stood up except Matsanga in this world of Africa with my friend who was at times with me and at times doing his own work, Onyari. We stood up and we said the ICC is going to kill Africa. I stood up and wrote and filed 21 applications in the International Criminal Court, Miriam. But nobody today knows the importance apart from President Uhuru Kenyatta, who knows the importance of ICC not coming back to Africa to fetch people again. I did those applications single-handedly. One of the problems that kills Kenya is we have too many people in Nairobi talking, they know everything they don't know. These lawyers who have too much English, you find them scattered all over the television, claiming to know this, claiming to know this. But if you ask them, where is Bristol? They will have to go to Google Map to Google where Bristol is. Yet Bristol is in Wales. So some of these things, Miriam, we shot ourselves in the feet because we did not listen. And therefore, the story started it began going there, growing thick, until the new Attorney General came in. When they realized that this thing was not going to go anywhere, I am one of those, and you have correctly quoted, I have been saying time and time again. How could you go, you are a whole Attorney General of a government, you go and file a case when you have seen a Somali presiding judge? Do you surely file the case or you run back home? Surely. Attorney General Gifi Mugai went and filed a case when there is a Somali presiding judge called Abdulakif. Can you tell me, justify to me, why that case was first filed and you accepted? ICJ is not a criminal court, Miriam. ICJ is a willing court, willing entry and a willing departure. You can enter and depart at will. It has no army, no enforcement, criminal liabilities. So there is nothing that ICJ can do. Kenya has gone and gone and gone. Now that Kenya has gone, let it also follow on the ICC. We withdraw from these agencies. They don't help us at all. That's my submission this morning.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, in a move that cooked Kenya's goose, the Nairobi government agreed to participate in the ICJ case had Kenya refused to recognize the ICJ's jurisdiction. At the time, the case would likely not have proceeded to Tuesday's defeat for Nairobi. Kenya would successfully seek to have the case adjourned 3 times. And we saw last week on Friday, it's when officials at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs decided to pull out of ICJ. Professor Jared Onyari, I first want to get your reaction after that ruling yesterday.
Miriam, thank you so much, because Dr. Masanga was waiting for me. And little did he know that God will make the donkey to speak. When the prophet of God wanted to just condemn him. That's exactly what as Dr. Masanga said, what I was saying, Dr. Masanga. Why should you fight an innocent man who speaks his mind and who speaks the truth and who is after peace? I always tell you that the Kenyan officials, they branded from the word go. They didn't seek advice. They masquerade to know and they don't know. And let them take an opportunity to listen to what you are saying today. Be it as it may, Miriam, you know very well as I do, Kenya and Somalia, whether the land goes whichever way it is, we will be neighbors. Whether we take 100 years from today, we don't talk, at some point we'll talk because we are just neighbors. Kenya cannot occupy that part of land for 40 years and then someone walks out of from where he wakes up and you take us to court. Then Dr. Masanga, listen to me. If you are serious that you want to handle, let Kenya from today, if it is serious that we want to take that part of the country, let us resign from being a member, non-member of the voting member of the Security Council of United Nations. That's when we are serious. 2, because we took that area to pacify and bring peace in the Indian Ocean, the Horn of Africa. What are we seeing? Working very hard, and there's some people going behind our president, and Kenya should pull out if we want to protect that part of the region. 2 million. Somalia, the government which we formed here, you go back home to do this one to Kenya, then them just give a notice to United Nations, because Dr. Masanga, we can't say that we are equal and we are respected. Let them just give notice that we don't want refugees in our land. They can go to Ethiopia, they can go to other neighboring countries. Because now we cannot cede even an inch of our land, what was rightfully given by our forefathers. And Dr. Masanga thinks I'm against, I'm a Kenyan. Dr. Masanga, let me just start by being very, very, very basic. Dr. Masanga, I love my family. I love my tribe. I love Kenya. I love the people of Kenya. I love Africa, and I love humanity. And I wish that all of us must walk that direction. Anything which interferes with that, Dr. Masanga, do you know what? Do you know Somalia is one of the countries with the largest coastal line? Do you know that? Which they have not used. Then we come and fight over something 1,000 square kilometers. There's some powers behind. And you know, Dr. Masanga, you always tell me. Dr. Masanga, sometimes I get emotional. Because Africans, we are not being treated as human beings. There is ever war going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the United Nations is there. What is being taken from the Democratic Republic of Congo? Is it not our precious minerals? And then you want to come and tell us you take it to an international court, Mr. Dr. Masanga. Kenya asking the court, give us an opportunity to go and negotiate, is a crime? Is it a crime, Dr. Masanga, when we go to court, we ask the court to key our parties to a conflict? You know, Dr. Masanga, I'm a certified professional mediator. You ask the court, give us time, let us go and see whether we can talk, and you deny. You give us a ruling, you expect us to accept. Don't you think, Dr. Masanga, these people have sent us so that we fight? And we are going to fight the way the Palestinians and the Israelis are fighting for eternity. Dr. Masanga, hear this. If you want someone to fight you for life, snatch someone his wife, snatch someone his land, snatch someone his money. It will be handed over the generation and generation, Dr. Masanga, and you want to tell me that you want to enter that trap? I will always say, Dr. Masanga, we have remained. When you talk about where is the Kenya Defense Forces, Dr. Masanga, who are treating the people of Somalia? Are the Somalis ordinary people not happy? Where is this man who is becoming our president? Is he not making an announcement from Ravington here? That's why I tell you, Dr. Masanga, corruption will kill this country. Because the people who are officials of this country, they don't want to take this country forward. As I submit to give other panelists, this is the time for us to reflect, Dr. Masanga. We go for war, we can go for war. But in the end, we resort to come down and sit and solve this conflict. Dr. Masanga, that is part of Kenya. You know, I have done geography, Dr. Masanga, up to the highest level. Not second, I've done it up to university level, Dr. Masanga. And the boundaries go latitude, not vertical, Dr. Masanga. Nobody can just come and bring that kind of argument. Courts never draw boundaries, Dr. Masanga. They could have given an expert. And I said the other day, Dr. Masanga, you thought I was joking. I didn't draw the boundaries. Neither did you draw the boundaries. Our colonial masters are there. Those who lock themselves in rooms and partition in Africa. Why can't we get those maps, Dr. Masanga? And we look at it. Tanzania cannot draw a latitude. Mozambique cannot draw a latitude. Then when it comes to Somalia, Dr. Masanga, then it goes what? It goes so vertical. No, it will never work. Then let us go to Djibouti. Let them also come down, Dr. Masanga. So, Dr. Masanga, Kenya should make this opportunity, Dr. Masanga, we use African mechanism and use the mechanism of United Nations, not ICJ, Dr. Masanga. Because the implication of the ruling here is, if one party of the ruling, one party of the dispute is not willing to implement, it is null and void. We need to negotiate, except Dr. Masanga. They have said that we can talk. How do you talk? When we said, give us an opportunity so that we agree. It is something we are going to watch. And those of us who are promoting peace and security, this is a recipe of chaos from generation to generation. I submit, Dr. Masanga, I do not have any diversionary views because I am very patriotic and I will not contradict my president because it's properly advised.
Very well. Thank you so much, Professor Jared Onyari.
Miriam.
Yes,
Miriam,
yes.
Before you call the next speaker, I wanted to concur with my brother. I did not say to the contrary. I only said today let the fireworks work, because I have now seen that the ideas that he is talking about are the same as mine. For me, I have only become a radical, that I have gone ahead and surveyed the border already. I have ordered for my uniform. That's it. And the uniform has been delivered at home. By tomorrow morning, when I address you on this TV, you'll see me in full combat. I am preparing my journey towards helping Kenya.
All right.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much.
Miriam, as you proceed to the other bus bands, Miriam, let us not spill the blood of an African brother because of the sake of the outsiders.
All right, thank you so much. And we will get into the response by Kenya. President Uhuru Kenyatta and State House issued a statement yesterday. So I want us to get into that first, but I would like to get your reaction, Daniel Wesonga, the ruling at the ICJ. What are your thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Miriam. And of course, like many other Kenyans, this ruling is very, very disturbing to our country. We have known that Kenya and Somalia have coexisted since the years of the independence. And in 1979, Kenya actually proclaimed the border that we were actually pushing at the ICJ. And Somalia under Siad Barre did not even reject that particular border. And you realize that is the time when colonialists had just left the continent. So years later, for a court sitting in the Netherlands to come and tell us that this is how your map or maybe your boundary should be, it's quite ironical, Miriam. And I support whatever Dr. Masanga has said. I support whatever Professor Jared Onyari has said, that we should not cede any inch of this country to Somalia, because when we gave them the territory, whatever thrives there was piracy and every other illegal business. So to me, I think, Miriam, I have nothing more to say but to reinforce on whatever the position the government of Kenya has reiterated, that we shall not cede even an inch of our territory to Somalia, because we have the evidence. We had a map which had a very, very compelling evidence to the ICJ. How it mysteriously got lost in the ICJ, we don't know. So this is a very, very well-crafted haste of our territory, and we shall not allow. Whatever they were talking yesterday is something that we cannot even comprehend. You know, if you tell someone that the boundary between Kenya and Somalia begins somewhere around Syokimau, then that is going to trigger a lot of conflict in Africa, because next Uganda is going to claim that their boundary with Kenya begins from Nakuru or Naivasha. Next, before we know it, Kenya will be claiming part of Tanzania, like Dr. Masanga said today in the morning in the interview with a South African TV station. So to me, I think ICJ should stay out of African matters. We are not part and parcel. We are not part and parcel of that court. And whatever judgment they made yesterday, as Kenya said, we shall not partake it. And therefore, we should not let any outside body to determine the fate of Kenyans. And Dr. Masanga has said very clearly, let us also pull out of ICC. I hope the people who are responsible are paying attention so that we don't find ourselves in such a similar situation. I submit.
All right, thank you so much. Samuel Tawish, your reaction on yesterday's ruling.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you to colleague panelists and also those of you who have spoken ahead of me. Miriam, indeed, if you listen or watch the mood with which, of course, the panelists are making submission on this particular discussion this morning, it quite tells you that that ruling yesterday was very disturbing. And it makes me ask the question, what purpose has that court or the ruling that it gave yesterday really served? Because in the first place, whenever there's a dispute, you expect you go to maybe when you go to the courts, you expect that they will be providing a solution or a way forward in as far as the dispute is concerned. But when you look into the Kenya-Somalia Maritime dispute, Miriam, I mean, it is more of like escalating matters. In fact, the dispute or the conflict appears to have been aggravated instead of it being actually, instead of a solution being found. because you can clearly listen to what President Uhuru Kenyatta spoke yesterday in response to that ruling. You heard what Farmajo spoke yesterday in response to that ruling. It is almost like we are going to the drawing board. It's like nothing really happened. Then you ask yourself, why did Somalia choose to go to the ICJ in the first place? Why did Kenya accept really to partake in this fraudulent process when it did not believe in the process that maybe ICJ was going to undertake? I mean, we have spoken on this extensively on our previous discussions that it was wrong, it was misinformed or ill-informed for Kenya to have gone to ICJ or agreed to go to ICJ or to agree to have been dragged by Somalia to ICJ in the first place. But be that as it may, I think now we've got this ruling. It hasn't quite provided a solution. Just like I've said previously, Miriam, this ruling is providing an opportunity for us to go back to the drawing board and find a solution to this problem. I saw the suggestions yesterday, of course, brought forth by President Uhuru Kenyatta, that we need a homebred solution. We need a diplomatic lobbying and approach in as far as this dispute between Kenya and Somalia is concerned. And I suppose that will be the way to go, because it is more of like Kenya has vowed. It has taken an oath. We are not going to cede ground. We are not going to allow an inch of our territorial boundary to go to any nation. President Kenyatta did even remind the world that he took an oath. You remember he took an oath to protect the sovereignty of the people of Kenya and the land. And itself, therefore, as long as it's the President of the Republic of Kenya, it's not just about to compromise on that. It's not going to allow anything to go against that sovereignty of the people of Kenya. So, Miriam, it quite tells you that Somalia and Kenya have a long way to go in as far as finding a solution. Because President Kenyatta also yesterday, if you listen carefully, did say they are going to exploit all available means, which means, Miriam, even if it means going to war with Somalia, if that will be the only available option for Kenya to safeguard its territorial boundaries, that can as well be the option. So in itself, Miriam tells you why that we have not got a solution from ICJ. We need probably to go back to the drawing board, that Somalia and Kenya can sit down as neighbors and brothers, people who have lived together for so many years, people who continue to rely on one another on so many fronts and aspects, that they can sit down through the African Union or any other entities to do a lobby and a diplomatic approach to find a solution to this crisis. I submit, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. Sharon Gitonga, from the ruling yesterday and how the court decided to redo that boundary, which I don't think is under the court's jurisdiction. The court attempted to what seems to, they wanted to strike a sort of a compromise where perhaps Kenya will be happy and Somalia will be happy. So I don't know, what did you make of yesterday's ruling? Yesterday, obviously, Kenya is not happy and Kenyans are not happy about this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Miriam, and my colleague panelists for your sentiments. And indeed, the ruling, what I can say is that the ruling is, clearly a slap on Kenyan face, and it's already causing havoc among Kenyans who are, not going to take this for a sitting, especially looking at the many and great sacrifices that you made for our Somali neighbors, including, providing humanitarian relief to the thousands of the Somali refugees. And not just that, Somali has enjoyed a generous, financial, diplomatic, military support from Kenya. So for me, this is quite a case of betrayal. But then again, I believe we didn't have to subject ourselves to all these. I think way earlier we should have figured out, mutual agreement that would have ensured at least we don't go the route of, this court, and at least, to get to where we are right now. Because I believe, or rather, when it comes to, such issues of, boundary disputes, these are matters that would have been resolved by maybe a way of consensus rather than, doing the hardline of decisions. I was just seeing a statement that has been issued by Somali, and they were saying that, Kenya needs to respect the international rule of law. And I think they are, talking from a point of ignorance. And it's very clear that, Somali is a failed state, with a very poor governance, that it's high time that, we can call it out. And my sentiments would not be very far from, what my co-panelists have been talking about. because it's clear from all these findings that ICJ is a corrupt court, and this being a national security issues, and us again being a diplomatic country, like I mentioned before, we've fought for our independence. I think we have the right to protect what is ours by all means, and if it means withdrawing our soldiers that are currently, in Somalia, and even deploying the refugee camps that are in Kenya, I think if this is what is going to make us, get what protect our territorial integrity, then so be it. But then finally, I think just like Tawish, and I think some of my colleague panelists have talked about, we need to look at the solution, because now we have the problem. We need to look at the solution. Could we deploy other mechanisms, other than ICJ or any other international bodies? At least if we can have an intervention of local bodies, like the African Union or maybe UNSCC to find a solution to the problem. I think that's where maybe we can start off. I submit.
Oh, thank you so much, Sharon Gitunga. And of course, immediately after that ruling at the ICJ yesterday, Villa Somalia issued a statement, and President Farmajo addressed the nation. And I'll just read part of what he said before we come to what President Uhuru Kenyatta said. Firstly, I would like to thank Allah, who has granted us this historic victory after the long struggle by the people and the government of the Federal Republic of Somalia against the unlawful attempts by the Kenyan government to claim parts of our maritime territory. And he goes ahead to say that we agree and with that decision by the ICJ. And of course, during that time, President Uhuru Kenyatta was taking the leadership. Kenya right now is chairing the United Nations Security Council for a month, and President Uhuru Kenyatta was just in the process. And when the verdict was being issued, he was actually he was in a media conference, and so he was asked a question about his thoughts on that verdict, and he said he will look at it and then he'll get back. He'll state Kenya's position on that matter. So this is what we had from State House. While Kenya is not surprised at the decision, it is profoundly concerned by the import of the decision, that its implications for the Horn of Africa region and international law generally. At the outset, Kenya wishes to indicate that it rejects in totality and does not recognize the findings in the decision. The decision embodies a perpetuation of the ICJ's jurisdictional overreach and raises a fundamental question on the respect of the sovereignty and consent of states. So, to international judicial process, international tribunals have jurisdiction only to the extent of consent by a state. And Kenya is an avid supporter of the rule of law, accepted the court's jurisdiction through declaration in 1965 with an objectively clear outline of certain excluded matters. At the time, Kenya never imagined that the ICJ would violate the declaration to the extent of imposing its mandate over expressly excluded matters. And it continues to say, I'll not read the whole of it. It is an unfortunate development over the last decade. A trend has emerged of some supposedly international organizations being deployed as a political tools against African countries. Sadly, this misfeasance has infected the ICJ, leading it to impose jurisdiction on a dispute it had neither jurisdiction nor competence. In addition, the court did not permit the use, let alone the exhaustion, of regional dispute resolution mechanisms, despite the existence of a robust African Union legal framework on border issues and dispute settlement. And even with these flaws, Kenya continues to say, Kenya participated in the initial proceedings out of its traditional respect of the rule of law, if only to make its case that the court had neither jurisdiction nor competence over the dispute. However, the court decided in an inexplicable decision delivered on the 2nd February 2017 that it would hear and determine the dispute despite the founded objections. This decision was clearly erroneous. And then I'll just keep a bit of that and just come down there and say Kenya, therefore, calls on the international community to create an enabling environment for the pursuit of a negotiated settlement. Kenya and Somalia are neighboring states with a common border and the communities with shared social, cultural, and religious practices. This decision is, in the circumstances, a zero-sum game which will strain the relations between the two countries. It will also reverse the social, political, and economic gains and potentially aggravate the peace and security situation in the fragile Horn of Africa region. So that is just part of the statement that was issued and Kenya's position after that ruling from the International Criminal Court. First of all, President Uhuru Kenyatta reiterated what he said over 2 weeks ago, and it reiterated again that Kenya has rejected in totality and does not recognize the findings in the decision. So just go back to our initial question and our topic. How do we move on from here after this ruling, Dr. Matsanga? Professor.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
Medium and the panel. You know, there is a section there which President Uhuru Kenyatta has quoted directly from my mouth and from my writings. If we can exactly, that's what I thought. One of the things is that some of these agencies have been politicized against Africa. That's what what we have been saying here on this television.
They're used as political tools.
Yes. They use as political tools. That's what Matsanga has been saying in writing also. And in a letter to the United Nations Security Council Secretary General, I put it there that there is someone somewhere, Onyali, who is chasing this deal. You know, in Kenya's Nairobi street, we say, Niko na deal na chase. I am chasing a deal. We have now known people in Kenya who have been chasing this deal. And there is a report that Norwegians came to Kenya and they were even given dinner. Miriam, you remember when I was looking for the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister Hassan Harie. Prime Minister Hassan Harie was in Nairobi. He was a refugee in Kenya. Then later on came back to work as Norwegian Relief Agency. I want you to trace back the problem where it came from. During piracy, some people benefited from piracy. And Onyari, if you are looking for this problem, the way you look for it, go there now. That's where the rot is. Who are the people who benefited from piracy? Because this thing started slowly from piracy. It arrived in oil. The pirates discovered there is oil there. I don't think, Mr. Onyali, you grew up in Kisi, in Nyamira, knowing that there was oil in the Indian Ocean. Did you? When did you discover there was oil?
For 7 or 8 years ago.
Aha! That is after the pirates. The pirates, people had gained money out of the pirates and they built empires here. They are telling us they know more. They tell us they know more. Hii ndio watu tutaanza now. Kwanza, unasikia hiyo Onyali? Let's begin with these nickel pumps. These are the people who gained from piracy. Piracy, after piracy, they went for oil. And who was doing a deal with them? Hassan Harie. Who was Hassan Harie? What crimes did Hassan Harie commit in Kenya? You remember the abduction of people in Dabab camp? Do you remember? a bungled, well-managed, stage-managed abduction of people. 2 Kenyan drivers were killed, and Hassan Hari and other people escaped unhurt. Who was that? How much money did they receive? We want to go back to the root cause. If it is Norway, why are we having the Norwegian embassy? How many Kenyans are going to the Norwegian embassy to demonstrate for that small ambassador woman to jump through the window? Hey, if you want to stop the war, just begin to be active. We know the embassies are Kenyans crowding at the Turkish embassy, asking Turkey why Turkey is pulling a fleet of ships, bringing it to the disputed territory. Hakuna mutu, there is nobody in this country until maybe another person like Paul comes to start the demonstration. Why are you, Miriam? The point I'm making here is this. We know the people who put us to fire. We know the people who send us to fire. They come during the time, they eat with us. But at night, they are dealing with other countries to put us in fire. Without Kenya, there would be no Somalia. So also, let's dismember Somalia. Hey, I know Onyali wacha iwake moto kwa moto. We also dismember Somalia because Somalia is undermining us. Why are they killing us? They come to kill us, we are quiet. They now come to take the sea, we are quiet. The people paying them their legal fees. Who are the legal fees? Who paid the Somali legal fees? Norway and Qatar. Why do you entertain ambassador of Norway enjoying our women in all places and the food? Summon him. Summon him and tell him we know what you are doing. Miriam, of late, there is even something very worrying in me. Something worrying me. You have gone to Turkey, you wear even Turkey shirts, you wear even Turkey suits like a Ruto, he's changing his Turkey shoes, that Ruto there. You see his shoes are Turkey. Now you bring even a Turkey mercenary as Harun Yassin, you bring another mercenary in our football. How can you hire a coach for 1 month? How can one coach in 1 month teach the football team? You hired him for a Kenya football team to collapse. It was given 5-0. So why are we, isn't this a concern that these are countries that claim to be friendly to us, but at the same time, they are not friendly. So are we going to continue treating them like that every day, Miriam? Are we?
I think even for me,
do we treat
the country that I'm most worried about is the UK, because even the auctioning took place in the UK and the UK allowed that to happen. So I think that really, that is the country I'm most worried about. Yes. But nonetheless, we go back to this letter and what President Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday. I think there's a part of it that I did not read, so maybe let me just read it and then I can bring somebody else in. Nonetheless, Kenya is committed to a diplomatic solution of the current impasse. In this regard, Kenya is a key proponent of respect for the principle of subsidiarity. As a catalyst of African solutions for African problems, will resolve this matter through the institutions of the African Union as the African Union Border Program and its peace and security architecture, and in addition to other bilateral arrangements. Fellow Kenyans, when I became president on the 9th April 2013, I took an oath to protect the territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya. I do not intend to abrogate my solemn oath, and I will do everything possible as President and Commander-in-Chief to preserve the territory of this, our great republic, and bequeath the same intact and encumbered to the next president when my term expires in less than a year's time. As your president, I want to assure you of my commitment to solve this issue amicably and urge you all to remain calm as my government remains fully seized on the matter. That is what President Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday. So he said, I will, as your commander-in-chief, I will do all it takes to preserve the territory of this great republic. Professor, what are you hearing President Uhuru Kenyatta saying?
Manager.
So,
Iko shida.
Oh, Doc? Oh my goodness. Lord, okay. We apologize for that. Doc is having a good time over there near Lamu. I think at a few minutes they forgot. Right, go ahead, Professor. We apologize for that.
Miriam, hear this. You know what I resisted from the word go. I didn't, you know, when you go to court, Miriam, two things happen. One party loses, one gains. One comes happy, one comes out crying. What has the president of Somalia said? That we respect the ruling. The ruling which we are not party to, which we even objected from the word go. What has President Uhuru Kenyatta said is the chief of the command of the armed forces, Miriam. When you hear someone invoking his position as the chief of defense of the armed forces of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. Masang, Miriam, we are going for war. Get it for me. And Miriam, let me tell you, amani haikuji ila tu kwa ubanga. There is no peace without war. As it is now, everybody is we have said we are not going to accept. Somalia is telling us we accept Miriam. I'm seeing us fighting, then we come around the table and ask ourselves, why did we start war? Miriam, where was Qatar? Miriam, where was France? Where was Norway? Where was Turkey? When Somalia was no country, Miriam, and we are trying to look into the semblance of our country. Miriam, can you build a house and you don't know how to bring it down? And I can tell you for sure, Miriam, I normally say things here and you think, Miriam, I say as a joke. I want our defense for our troops moved from Somalia and be in our border. Let us allow them. Miriam, if you come to me, I give you money to go and feed your children, and I find you are taking that money to the bar, and you are drinking and spoiling, wasting my money. What do? I stop. Why are we so much interested? Where is Turkey? Do they have the soldiers there? So Miriam, time has come for us to act. Miriam, let me tell you for one. Kenya is not like another Kenyan and another country in the world, another country in Africa, Miriam. Our independence, Miriam, was, we shed blood for it. We were not given. And I've said land, if someone takes you land, Miriam, I come from where land is very dear, Miriam, someone will fight you until eternity will hand over generation to generation, Miriam. So from where I sit, and when you hear they're saying that we use all the options, Miriam, I know as we speak, Miriam. And I know how it has happened, that it has happened during the son of Jomo, Kenyatta being the president. Amin woke up one morning and he said the boundary for Kenya is at Naivasha. Miriam, I'm told by then I was a small kid, that the number of caterpillars and of machineries for war which went all the way, they were almost reaching Kampala. And the only thing he said is that the boundary is at Naivasha. So Miriam, as we speak now, I don't want to talk about the government, how it operates, Miriam. I am sure, Miriam, we are ready for war.
Listen, you have brought something very interesting. I was alive, asking me. I was alive when those tanks, you know, the tanks gave Matanga a very good approach. Yeah, we were rebels. Miriam, We were rebels. So when it happened, we said, hallelujah. Let's now use this undercover. Webuye, Chebukube, Chebutais, Chitale, Lodwa, Matsanga. Ask me. So look, this is a good chance. I am very good at this game. That's why I've requested my uniform. Don't think because of weight I cannot fight. I will fight. Even if I don't fight Miriam, I will direct. I will be a strategist in war. But we are not going to stupidly accept the people we feed, the people we help, the people we give money, the people we give passports to come and harass another country. They are doing it today on Kenya, they will do it today on Uganda. Therefore, you touch Kenya, you touch Uganda. And for me, Miriam, that diplomatic what? What did you, that they use diplomatic what? Where is diplomacy? How do you talk diplomacy with a bad man? Farimajo is mad. What diplomacy are you going to talk to him about? You think there will be a war if there is a, there will only be a war when there is a federal republic of Somalia. But when it is disintegrated to several states, there will be no war, isn't it? Yes. So let's move on and capture Kisimayo completely. Wakuje. We are already on the territory, my friend. We are not going to keep quiet. Wasikie. There was scared that Farimajo scared. We are already there. I mean, you are discussing as if you don't. Now, just listen to what I'm explaining here now. The situation is like this, Miriam. Kenya did not go to complain about the border. Somalia went to complain about the border. So far, from the ruling yesterday, Kenya is still at that border point. Isn't it? So Kenya is literally there. So Kenya is waiting for one boat, one ship of Somalia to cross without permission, and the war will spark. Are you not seeing that, Ms. Onyali?
I'm sure.
Miriam, are you not seeing that? Since tuko kwa border, it is like uko Malava. Uganda is on the other side, we are on this side. And then Uganda is not aware that they have declared Kenya is already ready, is waiting for you. You have to take Kenya out of the border, isn't it? This is going to be a very nasty experience in the region. For Somalia to come and tell Kenya to leave the border point, which the judges have very badly made. How do you go and say, as Wanyali said, I have never seen in geography where these things are done. Then the whole Africa will change. The whole Africa will change. So whoever wrote, it is this judge, the Somali judge who wrote this ruling, and the woman from America came to read the ruling. Anyway, you can see how biased it is. It's a biased ruling. It's a biased thing. From here, the battlefield, green uniform, bring it on. Hakuna mchezo ya kurudi nyuma negotiation. You think Uhuru wants to leave a legacy for having sold part of the territory to Somalia? Medium, can you picture that? Between me and you, picture that. Just picture that. You think Uhuru can do that? Will you live very well?
All right. Prof, you were saying something?
Yes.
Professor, before you come, let me tell you, the countries that are making sure that Kenya and Somalia fight are very well known. I want the Kenyans to start the demonstration at the Turkish embassy, Norwegian embassy, and the French embassy, telling them to stop funding Somalia. If they can't do it, I'm leading it. I'm leading it. We cannot, no, we have talked too much and the things have gone out of our hands, Mr. Onyali. We want to put pressure on Norwegian embassy, that woman ambassador, to jump through the window. Yeah, this is not a lie. Because Norway has come out that they came and dined and then devised the method of eating the oil in Karen. And two, another behavior that I saw, Tawish, which I think you have picked, Miriam. People, when the ruling took place, people in Eldoret went to the streets and celebrated. Did you hear that?
They did that?
So, they celebrated.
Oh,
they were that. Yes. They were saying, ICJ Oye, ICJ Oye, ICJ Oye. Yes! In the streets of Eldoret last night. Where Songa, am I wrong? So when you have a cross section of people like that, and the people sitting here now, does it shock you that Grandi Mula is the lawyer of Mr. Ruto, and they are the people eating the money from these proceeds of oil? So what the government shall we have? What government will you have? Onyali have even shocked you now. You didn't know there were celebrations in Eldoret?
No, I've seen.
So there you are, Miriam. The only route left for us, my dear sister, to buy uniform or retired men called back like myself. We take it. We know how to maneuver the water. Some of us even know how to swim. You don't need Marines. David, after here, I'm going to land in the water. I don't need Marines. Sindio Miriam, nataka uniform yangu ya green ikuwe tayari. You know, so that they can know that there's a seriousness. Another option is to disintegrate Somalia. Yes.
All right.
Puntland, recognize Puntland as the recognized state and the Jubaland as a recognized state.
And set up consulates there.
And I said, yeah, set up a consulate in Kisimayo. Let them be bombing us every day, but we have a consulate and are managing the place. Tutafanya hiyo. Muamuke wa Kenya nyenye msilale.
All right. So, I'd like to hear the rest of the panelists' thoughts on what President.
Yeah, let me just make a conclusion because Dr. Masanga stepped in before I'd put my line of thought, Miriam, and after this I will step out. What I'm trying to say, Miriam, is that we are already in the territory which has been there. We have been there for the last 40 years. ICJ do not have the mechanism of moving us from there, Miriam. And some of the recommendations which are being put by Dr. Masanga, don't ignore them, Miriam. It is high time that, Miriam, you can't come to my home and then you start to destabilize me from there. It is high time that France now chooses to go to Somalia to monitor there. They have the embassy there, Turkey, Qatar, and Norway. We are at war, Miriam. No, it is not business as usual, Miriam. And remember, President Uhuru Mugai Kenyatta said that he got an intact boundaries, and that's what intends to hand over to the person coming in the next 10 months. He said that, and I had him very clear, Miriam. Be it as it may, Miriam, we know it is good that you know your enemies. It is good that you know what they are thinking about you, Miriam. Now, and the future, and I have given this recommendation, and that's what Dr. Masanga is saying, that the future of Somalia is to have those individual units, Miriam, federal states becoming their respective countries, and we recognize them, Miriam. Because we have done everything which we can do as human beings, Miriam, as good neighbors, Miriam. We gave them a parliament here, Miriam. We gave them security, Miriam. We provided even the Mercedes-Benz President Hassan was using, Miriam. What haven't we done, Miriam? We have fed those refugees, Miriam, for the last 31 years or so, Miriam. We have done it. Even some of the people have come from that refugees come, Miriam. They have gone to United States of America and they have been elected as members of the Congress. I am submitting at this point now, Miriam. We have gone past negotiation. We cannot reverse. We need to trust each other. And once we have done that, Miriam, we will come back to our senses, Miriam. Those who are celebrating in the streets of Eldoret, Miriam, that's very unfortunate, Miriam. And I said that I love this country. You need to be patriotic with this country. You need to be nationalistic with this country, Miriam. And one of the things we are getting here, Miriam, when those people, let me just hear this because I have done extensive studies on the marine and about the blue economy. And you know, Miriam, what we are talking about, we want to exploit the blue economy from the Indian Ocean and our waters, Miriam. And Miriam, this one way of making Kenya landlocked country, Miriam, you don't know, reducing those kind of kilometers, Miriam, what it means. These people simply, Miriam, because we have pacified that part of the Indian Ocean. People want to continue with the piracy. People want to cause confusion in the area. There's conflict in the area, Miriam. Then they will continue taking all the resources in terms of fish and in terms of the things which comes out of the ocean, Miriam. So from where I sit and watch this space, Miriam, I can tell you for a fact we are already at war. It is only it's only someone to trigger, and that's what when you hear a president of a country, he's not saying that I'm a head of state and head of government, and he chooses to say he's the chief commander of the armed forces, Miriam. It speaks a lot.
All right. Thank you so much. Prof. Daniel Wesonga, that statement from President Uhuru Kenyatta saying that he took an oath in 2013 when he first became the President of the Republic, and one of them was to protect the territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya, and he said that he does not intend to abrogate his oath, and he will do everything possible as President and Commander-in-Chief to preserve the territory of this, our great Republic, and bequeath the same intact and unencumbered to the next President when his term expires in less than a year's time. Vile alipata ndio nataka apatie the next President, President the fifth, after he's done with his term. So what are you hearing President Uhuru Kenyatta to be saying?
Dawish can answer that.
Oh, okay.
Because
Wesonga is not there.
Nani? Yeah, no.
All right, Tawish, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And I've just been listening to submissions by, of course, Professor Jared Onyari and Dr. David Masanga on this particular matter, Miriam. And you can quite draw a foregone conclusion that this is as good as done. Kenya is prepared to actually safeguard its territorial boundaries, regardless of what it's going to cost it. And I think this is a position that Kenya has already taken, and you can hear that from President Uhuru Kenyatta himself, actually reminding the people of Kenya and reminding the world that indeed he took that solemn oath to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of this country, and it's not just about really to compromise or give it away. And in itself, Miriam, it does tell you that that is the position that Kenya has taken, and they are not likely going to rescind on it. Dr. Masanga said maybe as we speak today, we have the, not actually maybe, I think it is with authority that we have the soldiers standby, of course, the boundary, the disputed boundary. And that in itself, therefore, tells you that we will be but just waiting for a trigger from Somalia, and anything else will be, another story to be told. Miriam, I think this will be the best way to go. Somalia has confirmed to us that it has been an ungrateful neighbor and grateful friend. Kenya, to be particular, has really sacrificed, has suffered a lot. in as far as pacifying Somalia is concerned, in as far as making sure that government, I mean, the semblance of governance really is seen and felt in Somalia. So many lives have been lost. Our soldiers we have lost soldiers in the battle to try and pacify Somalia. Not only Kenya, but also the other, of course, the neighboring countries like Burundi and Uganda, who have sacrificed a lot to make sure that Somalia is at peace and Somalia is stable. But when you look into how Somalia is reciprocating to Kenya and the neighbors, I think this is not a very good gesture. They feel like they have outgrown, and now they can maybe do their own things without, of course, the support of the other countries, that they can live as an island. I do not think that they have gotten to that level. There's a suggestion that probably it is time we even pull out the troops in Somalia so that they can now come and safeguard our borders. I think that is a very good suggestion that has been brought forth. It is something that I personally support, that maybe it is time we also recall the Kenyan soldiers who are in Somalia. And Uganda can as well do the same in solidarity with Kenya and others, because what Somalia is doing today is actually a demonstration of an ungrateful friend, people who do not actually appreciate the kind of effort and sacrifice that other nations have contributed in helping them become stable and at peace. Miriam, we are not requesting. This is not a favor that we want an inch from Somalia. This is something that rightfully belongs to Kenya. And therefore, when Kenya comes out to protect its sovereignty, that is why President Kenyatta did say that we are not asking, we are content with whatever God gave us. We are not asking even a single inch from any of the neighboring countries. We are only but going to protect the territorial boundaries, especially as was handed to us by our forefathers. And it is the same we are going to bequeath to our future generations. So this is not something that we are just about to give up. We are not going to surrender. And I personally join the calls that whichever way it takes, Kenya must actually safeguard her territorial boundaries. I submit, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Samuel. I wish, and of course, during that ruling yesterday, three things came up, and the first one was that the court split the disputed maritime triangle between Kenya and Somalia, and the second the court rejected Kenya's argument over pre-existing agreement with Somalia on a parallel boundary, and the third, the court rejected Somalia's claim that Kenya violated international laws, among other things they said. But those are the three key things that stood out yesterday. But Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta's reaction to that, he said that Kenya has rejected in totality that ruling yesterday. So which way forward, Sharon Gitonga?
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that question. And, when Somalia talks about, the said statement, shows how they're speaking from a point of ignorance. And I can't echo much, much has been said, and I can just echo on, what all my co-panelists have said. I love the statement that Professor Jared talked about, there is no peace without war. And for me, I believe we have to make hardline decisions to protect our territorial integrity. So be it. Then now from there, we can sit down and conduct some holistic conversations. But then again, I believe before that we have to also call out the government of Farmajo and his administration, which I believe has really highly influenced into the orchestrations that are happening right now. Right. I submit.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. As we conclude, which way forward now? Okay, we seem to have lost a doctor there. Thank you so much. This has been a Diplomatic Leaks. Thank you, Dr. David Matsanga. Thank you, Professor Jared Onyari. Thank you, Daniel Wesonga. And of course, Samuel Tawish. We'll see you some other time. My name is Miriam Mugutu. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.